Hey, this is Wicked Good from Off Curve, where I talk about Hearthstone on my drive home from the train station. But I'm not doing that right now because I'm listening to Concede. And so are you. What a coincidence. What good taste you have.
Greetings.
Hello.
Greet my greeting.
Well met.
I greet you.
Greetings, traveler.
Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello and welcome to episode 162 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. I am your anchor for this week, joining you live from Gadget Stand, New York, RidiculousHat. Our friend Appa couldn't make it today, but we do have our co-host and resident priest expert, Botticus from Karazhan, California. Botticus, how you doing?
I don't even know if I want to dignify that with a response. Not cool, man. Not starting off this episode on the right foot. I don't
It's okay.
appreciate it, Hat.
Well, I mean, but you play other games,
I
right?
I might be a priest expert. I would go that far.
Hey, Botticus,
But I know what you were insinuating.
do you want to tell the listeners about your new character in World of Warcraft?
I mean, it's completely irrelevant to the Hearthstone discussion. Okay, Hat.
It's a priest.
Yeah.
And also joining us from not just any Netherlands, the Twisting Netherlands, it's our Listener League champion again. Somehow we keep letting him back. The great Rebobson. How are you doing, Rebobson? How's your morning so far?
Oh, my morning's been absolutely fantastic, Mr. Hat. I'd just like to say that no one on the show agreed with the Twisting Netherlands joke except for Hat, but he's in charge, so he made us do it. It's 6 a.m. for me, and I haven't had any coffee. I'm just being driven off pure madness and rage. So if I go insane through the course of this show, or more insane, that's why.
I would say that you've already gone insane through sheer volume of tank ups per capita, which you far exceed the average human being.
I've tanked up many a time.
Yes.
It's my fuel.
And we'll tell you more about the tanking up, but we'll also tell you how Concede is supported in large part by you, the listener. And if you'd like to find out how you can support us and receive rewards in return, let's head to patreon.com/CoinConcede and check out the bonuses and stuff that we post over there, as well as, at certain levels, coaching sessions or access to the raw audio before it is edited and published a couple days earlier. And you get to hear our pre-show chat, which involves frothing berserkers and thirsty blades.
Oh.
So, how's life? We're going to start with you, Botticus. Tell us about how life is. Tell us about your ladder experience. Tell us about other things. Tell us about Priest across multiple Blizzard properties. Whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, so last week I played a fair amount of Hearthstone. I've been kind of stagnant at rank 3, playing a little bit of everything. Largely, I kind of just play what I feel like, which today was Q Block, and it was fine. I'm just playing a little bit of everything, but this weekend I was in Vegas to run a half marathon. I did that with my mom and my wife, and we finished it, so it was a lot of fun.
Ooh.
Well, I don't know if fun is the right word. It was rewarding and painful. Painful and rewarding.
That's what grown-ups say when something was physically not enjoyable, but they were told that they were supposed to enjoy it. But also, props. I mean, marathons are tough, dude. Did you have to train for it? Like, what was it like? I've never run on purpose in my life, so I have to look through you.
It was only a half marathon, so I did run before it. I was running probably 2 to 3 times a week, but never super long distances. I actually held up pretty well. We finished it in just under 3 hours, but I really wasn't like super tired. It was more that my legs just hurt a lot from the extended amount of running, since it was more running than I had done before.
Yeah, I imagine the distance factor matters a lot there.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun because you're in Vegas. They close off the strip and you just run down the strip to the airport, turn around, run all the way to the other end and then back, and it's just over 13 miles.
Wow.
And yeah, there's like people on the sides giving everybody high fives and everybody's cheering, and there's over 40,000 people there. So despite the fact that it was very cold outside, it really wasn't that cold because you're like moving around and there's just tons of people around. So even though it's windy, you don't like everybody's kind of being a windbreaker, so you don't really have to deal with the temp or the weather too much. It was a fun experience.
I'm glad he did that. And so we heard from Botticus. Let's do it again. Rebotticus. How was your week in Hearthstone or just in life in general? I hear that you're an excellent football manager. And I mean that in the European sense, or rather the not NA sense.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot speak for my prowess when it comes to the old hand egg. But what Hat is referring to is I've been playing a bit more FIFA recently because I've been bored and it's been a different game to play. So my Hearthstone it's been largely preparing for WESG qualifiers because in the EU ones are just kind of starting now. I have mine on this Friday, as well as next Friday. Then I've got some qualifiers for another tournament on this Sunday and the following Sunday. So I've just been kind of getting my lineup ready for that. I'm feeling quite happy with it. And besides that, I'm at Legend in Wild with Pirate Warrior. And, well, so my recent accomplishment since I've last been on this show is last month I hit Legend in 6 formats. So standard and wild on all 3 servers last month. It was an accomplishment. I wanted to see if I could do it. I now know I can do it. I've done it, and I'm never going to do it again because it was awful. Don't do it. just don't.
How
many of those accounts were prepped for the month? Did you prep, or how many of them did you have to start at rank 25?
So the Wild on NA and Asia was the 25 to Legend. God damn, that takes forever. And like it's not even like kind of a difficult grind for the most part. Like going from 25 to 15 is just a very long process, but it also just kind of feels like you're just picking on a small child for the most part. Like you just be like, okay, I'm just gonna beat up on some people with some basic and classic cards. I'm not gonna feel good about it. They're not gonna feel good about it, but it's gonna happen.
Pretty much every new system that Hearthstone has implemented in the past year has been to avoid doing what you did to people.
Yeah, well, I had to climb up somehow. If there was a button I could have pressed, which would have just been like skip straight to rank 5, that would have been great. But they haven't implemented that system yet. So as it stood, I was just bullying people who were running like Murloc Raider seriously in their decks and not playing Murloc Mage, because I realized that was a bad example now that it's in an arguably top tier deck.
That's kind of crazy.
I mean, they were running Murloc Raider for value.
So I had a thought. I don't think it was a good thought, but I was thinking that if it would be possible for 1 month, if you prepped 9 accounts, if you could get Legend on 9 times, 1 with every class in 1 month. If you obviously you probably have to like take the month off work or something, but if you like prepped the accounts where you started at rank 10 or so at the lowest point, obviously you'd have some where you were starting at rank 4 or whatever. But
it's just there's no how would you hit 9 legends? There's just not enough.
Well, it would have to be across multiple accounts.
Then you'd have to get. I don't have multiple accounts. I've got the one account on multiple servers.
Yeah, it would take a lot of prep, and it would probably take a good amount of money. you would have to have like one account, or you'd have to have the newer accounts probably. You would have like the cheaper decks on those accounts, and then, or like the classes that generally have the more expensive decks, you would have be your main account. I thought about it a little bit. I don't think I'll ever do it, but it was a thought I had at some points to like prove that a meta it was possible to hit legend with all 9 classes. I don't know that this would be a good meta for that, because it's pretty obvious that you can hit legend with all 9 classes. I see you shaking your head.
Mage, I
Yeah,
mean,
that
I
would just
guess you
not
can
be
play
enough.
Murloc Mage. It's
Yeah,
the-
mage would be the roughest right now. I mean, before the Mana Worm nerf, then I think it was very viable to hit legend with all 9 classes. But like in the Raza Priest meta, I think you could do that experiment technically. When, even though there was only a couple viable decks, there was like Raza Priest, Murloc Paladin, and I'm sure there was a Druid deck because UI was
Jade
a
Druid.
thing. Yeah.
the real
The
question
good
is
old
why?
Just to
yeah. The
prove
big
that you
question
can
is
do it.
why.
And Blizzard, there's no tournament mode. Botticus wants to play 9 different accounts of Legend. Give me some more hoops to jump through, please.
Yeah, I need more hoops to jump through. Is the thing that's why I did the 6 legend thing. I was just like, well, there's this that I can try and do, and then God knows what else. So now I'm playing FIFA. Although,
By the way,
cool,
I do think that's insane. Six legends, 2 of them being from rank 25 is absolutely bonkers insane.
Yep.
Like,
Oh yeah, don't
holy crap.
don't let
Yeah.
me undersell that as well. I was looking for a bumper, and the closest I found was
Well, I don't understand.
that was the best one I found. So we're gonna
That's a
roll
good
with
one.
that. I would have also accepted, which seems to be probably the noise you made when you woke up this morning.
You will
That
always
would-
accept that noise, though.
It-
I
It's
will
it's
always
good for
accept
every
that.
occasion. Listen, there's no occasion where you can't just go in and gibber a little bit. Maybe a job interview.
It's true. It depends on what the job was for. If
Yes.
it was a job gibbering,
Feral
a gibbering
jobber.
job.
It's the jibber jobber. So the other
If there was a gibbering position, I think Hat would be looking for a new career potentially.
and the other soundbite that did actually work pretty well,
How long can this go on?
which seemed pretty appropriate, but I didn't want listeners to think the show was ending.
Make
Well,
it stop.
congratulations on your 6 legends, and congratulations on now the sabbatical you have earned from Hearthstone. You won the game. You did it.
Yeah, I completed Hearthstone, guys.
Yes, you beat the
Now
game.
what?
And as for me, well, I got my 500 gold quest done, and big props to Blizzard for free stuff. I played Moogie Baby's Even Hunter, which is a super fun deck, and it is a legend rank Even Hunter.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I need to see this list, because I was talking about an Even Hunter a long time ago, and people didn't respect my thoughts, but I'm sure this list is probably just significantly better.
It curves from Whirliglider into Katharina Winterwisp.
Oh yeah, this is the bomb version. I've actually seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah, my version had the Echo Rush
Hunting
piece in it.
Mastiff.
Yeah, that card was actually pretty cool in Even Hunter.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh dear.
So, anyways,
dear.
I got my gold with that. I haven't played a ranked match in Hearthstone this week. I did get Masters in Eternal Ranked and Diamond Eternal Draft. I'm working on Masters there. I'm working on my Raider IO and WoW. This week's affixes are awful. Teaming Explosive Fortified is just unpleasant. I got promoted today at work.
Yay!
So, the weird thing is, I might have a consistent Monday through Friday schedule. Which
That's weird.
I have
Does that
worked.
mean you...
I have worked nights and weekends for 11 years. Almost 12. I have worked 11 Christmases in a row. I might be off this Christmas. There is an on-call component. The job that I got it's called Technical Systems Engineer, and it's making sure that the projection equipment in my region works and that movie theaters can show movies, which is actually pretty important to our business. And I set my own hours. There's on call, but it's 40 hours a week. I office out of a local theater, probably weekdays 10 to 6, which means nights and weekends might be available for the first time for me this decade. And I might wake up the same time every day, which is
Wait,
Whoa.
It's-
10 to 6. So you would have to be awake at like 9 in
11
the
a.m..
morning.
yeah.
That's really early. What are you gonna do?
So I'll be honest with you guys.
Struggle.
I haven't charted this all the way out yet, but I haven't had a consistent bedtime since 2006. And even then, it was kind of touch and go. So being encouraged by work to have the same bedtime every night is going to be a really new thing, as well as not working every major holidays and not picking up trash with my hands. So we're learning all of this together, but I think ultimately it's going to be a pretty big win in terms of quality of life. And also, the interview, pretty easy, because the second interview, one of the questions were, tell me what you know about audio. And I was like, oh, they don't know.
Hello.
So I told them a lot about audio. I indicated that I did a podcast, and then I'm not going to say that's why I got the job. I'm going to say I told them I had this podcast and then got the job. So Concede to you, interviewers and listeners, for making this possible.
Well, I'm very excited for you, Hat. This sounds awesome. The only thing that doesn't sound awesome is it sounds very unlikely that you are going to be up at 3 a.m. when I'm usually still up, which is only midnight my time.
It's probably going to be a little different because my sleep schedule currently aligns with...
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing in the goddamn world.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Also, the last time you had a regular bedtime in 2006, do you want to know how old I was the last time you had a regular bedtime?
We never
No.
we never want to know.
I don't want to know when you're
how
going to tell me.
I was 14.
Ugh. So, Rebobson,
Youth.
while I'm finding a trash can to puke in, tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you from the last time you sharked one of our tournaments. Take a few minutes, tell us about how you got into the game and how you got into the community and kind of your goals and accomplishments so far, what you've done and where you want to go.
All right, so I started when a friend got me into the game. It was just like, this game's really cool. And then I spent like a year playing it and not having a single clue about anything about it. Then I kind of just discovered that there's a big online presence surrounding the game, YouTube videos, Twitch streams, etc., etc. And that was kind of the point where I started getting somewhat better. I'm not going to say good. I was very far away from being good. My early days of the game were kind of just playing a crap ton of Dragon Priest, and that was it. I hit my Golden Priest before any other class had got 100 wins. So I am a priest
You hear
player
that,
at
Botticus?
heart.
You hear that? He's one of
Yeah,
you.
I didn't hit Golden Priest for a long time. I was Golden Rogue way before any of my other classes.
Yeah, priest was my first, but then through the magic of the internet, discovered some other people to start making Around the Hearth, the podcast, which I have been doing ever since for like the best part of 2 years now, and I'm kind of there, and I have evolved from like. It's funny because when we started the podcast, I was the only host show who had never hit legend, and now I am now very much the kind of resident competitive try-hard guy. As
Dude, you
hence
closed that
the
gap
6
last
legends
month
thing.
by itself. You passed
Yeah.
everyone just last month.
Yeah, I'm well past the point where I don't really know how many times I've hit legend, and it'd be pointless to try and figure it out. But I kind of like. I think I'm known more for like just grinding ladder, but I also just play as much as possible. Whether it's THL, where I enjoy beating Ridiculous Hat as much as possible. We've had some fun encounters. But recently, well, as in today, it was officially announced. I'm now the manager of Swagway's new EU Hearthstone team. So I put together a pretty sweet roster of players who are going to be playing there. So I think my goal is to kind of my immediate goal is to make that do successfully rather than my own accomplishments. I've kind of decided that being a full-on competitive Hearthstone player, it's probably not for me. So I'm gonna focus more on helping other people be successful players, as well as casting. Because was announced last week that there are many friends of Concede who will be casting for WESG, and then Hat just elected to neglect my name from it. So that made me very sad. I'm a sad panda. You
I
make me sad,
apologize. I
Hat.
copied a tweet. I thought it was everybody. It was only the NA casters. We were super NA biased, unfortunately. But yeah, I didn't
It's
realize
true.
that Swagway was expanding to Swagoo. So congratulations.
Swaggy EU.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm gonna say
The EU
Swagoo.
roster has not yet been announced, but it will be announced over on at Swagway Gaming over the next few days, and the roster's pretty exciting. And yeah, my other goal is to maybe qualify for WSG, so I can make an absolute bucket of money off that. But that's less hopeful. The UK WSG qualifiers are surprisingly stacked because there's very few players, but they're all really good. It's like imagine 16 players and then one of them's ball control. Someone's going to get him in the first round and just be like, oh, well, cool.
So you're hitting legend in basically every possible way you can. You're casting tournaments. You've been casting them for a while now, which has been really good to watch. You're captain of a team, and you're also doing coaching still, right?
Oh yeah, coaching is great. I do coaching on Gamer Sensei, and it's like the most fun, rewarding thing in Hearthstone. It's very much the kind of the thing that keeps me going when the game kind of sucks. In terms of like the fun sense, like it does now, it's not a very fun experience. But helping other people get good, to use the colloquial term, feels great. Like people pay me money to teach them how to shadow walk, and that just feels good. That is a fundamentally weird thing to happen. And I love it.
Yeah, you're just involved in everything Hearthstone right now. It's pretty awesome. I've been a big fan of just kind of you for a while, so it's really cool that you're also, finding time between doing all of these other things to just, randomly show up and win our listener league too. So
Oh yeah, with even Paladin, it was great.
yeah, that's pretty sweet. I forgot. I need to check out that list because I had my own even paladin
Oh.
list, but
Yeah, the one that I won the Listen League with, it has changed a decent bit since then. I realized that some of the cards I was running were quite bad, but it wasn't bad enough to stop it from like. I think the Paladin list in the top 8 went something like 8-1 or something like that. It won pretty much every game because it was just very good at hitting people in the face.
Are you still running the Wind Fury Harpy?
Oh, of course. That's like the most important card in the deck.
What about the Commander?
Oh yeah, Argent Commander's in there. Wind Fury Harpy's in there. It's kind of nice to be able to play a deck and just run Tyrion again.
Yeah.
I miss that guy.
Well, and
man, ever since I talked poorly about Corpse Taker, I've been getting hit really hard with Corpse Takers recently. It's really unfortunate.
How could you
I
bad
still-
talk Corpse Taker? Corpse Taker was like
That
one of
card
the.
is not good.
That card has been consistently good since Frozen Throne came out. Like now
I
it's kind of gone.
disagree.
Like Corpse Taker was like massive just after Frozen Throne came out. Then it went through a bit of a Murloc Paladin was, I believe, the deck that made most use of it.
I don't even think it played it. Did it?
Stormwatcher Murloc Paladin was like a
there was the
thing.
Stormwatcher list.
I
Because
did
remember we could play cards that
Stormwatcher,
cost
okay.
both 4 and 7 in the same deck back then?
Yeah, okay.
And then like it did kind of take a bit of a lull, but that it was always kind of in even Shaman as kind of a thing. And then Ziliax came out, so now it's just put Corpse Taker in every single deck because Ziliax is in every single deck, and then you can basically run a Ziliax that doesn't have Rush.
I don't know. I'm looking at this even Paladin list. Ziliax is not in here.
Yeah, if only.
Yeah.
People are running Crystal Smith Kangor in even Paladin as a kind of infinitely worse Ziliax. Which, by the way, you shouldn't do. Crystal Smith Kangor's terrible. Don't run it in even Paladin. Don't at me.
Yeah, having played with Crystal Smith Kangor, I like the life gain. I don't like the 2-mana 1/2.
2-mana 1/2s are bad.
Lowly Squire. I like Lowly Squire.
Wasn't Lowly Squire a 1-drop?
No, it's the 2-mana 1/2 that gives +2 attack permanently.
No, that's Lance Carrier.
Or Lance Carrier,
Lowly
yeah.
Squire.
Oh no, right. Lowly Squire is the Inspire 1-drop. No, yeah, Lance Carrier. Lance Carrier is the 2-mana 1/2 that I like.
tournament knowledge.
Yes.
Finally paying off.
I'm sure that you told someone someday this will matter. But yeah, I remember playing Lance Carrier in the Ruby and Egg. So clearly Lance Carrier was the powerful card in that scenario. Anyways, yeah, you've been sharking a lot of tournaments, and you did really well in UHL. I think your team did pretty well in THL this season. I don't remember the final record.
I did not play in THL this season. That's the reason why you're kind of drawing a blank on how well I did. That's because I didn't play.
But it was a Hearthstone thing that you were eligible for, and you didn't play, so I don't understand.
Oh yeah, you know, just he decided to take his undefeated record or whatever. It was how many games in a matches in a row did you win?
13.
Yeah, it was the record, right?
It was the record for exactly 2 weeks. Then it got beaten
by Brewski
almost immediately by Brewski.
Yeah.
Still, 13 in a row is insane.
It was a lot.
Yeah, the previous record had I think stood for like 5 seasons. Then I beat it, and then it got beaten again after 2 weeks.
And then THL implemented a performance-enhancing drug test policy because obviously people aren't just getting better at Hearthstone, except Rebobson and Brewski were born to play Hearthstone.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to get into the news in a bit, but take the time now. Anyone you want to shout out, any people you work with, play with, any cool things you're a part of that you want people to know about, we'll give you time at the end for contact, but you talked about Around the Hearth, you talked about Swagoi EU, which I will call Swagoo whenever I get the opportunity.
Swagoo.
Any other communities or people you want to shout out while we have the time?
Yeah, so shout out to Around the Hearth, shout out to Swagoi, and then I guess just shout out to all the wonderful people that comprise the Hearthstone Twitter community, which keep a lot of us interested in the game, even when it sucks.
Even when the game doesn't give us as much to focus on. How about that?
Exactly. There's always people on the internet to argue with, and there's always Ridiculous Hat to just
talk about
crude sexual comments towards.
Also that, which I hope stay 2 separate categories. We're going to go into the news. Botticus has a bit to share with us this week.
So things are starting to ramp up. We just got the Rastakhan Rumble card reveal schedule went up on the Play Hearthstone website. We're going to kick off on November 19th. Peter Whalen and Regis Kilbin. I believe this is the first time for him doing kind of an opening reveal. That's going to happen on Monday. They'll have a Twitch stream going with show us a bunch of new cards for the new set. Should be pretty exciting. And then throughout those 2 weeks until the 28th, they have kind of different community members and streamers and all kinds of people will be revealing cards. And then the final card reveal stream is going to be on November 28th, and that's going to have Dean Ayala and Kibler. On release day, if you log in, regardless of if you pre-order anything, you're going to get 6 packs, which is new. That's doubled, I think, usually from what we're used to getting. You will get a legendary Loa with the 2 spirits that kind of go with it. So pretty exciting. What do you guys think of these combos for the reveal streams? Like I know Regis did a little bit with, I believe it was the Boomsday pre-release, I want to say. He was in that, and it's pretty exciting to see him doing one of the opening Twitch streams. Rebobson, what do you think of these 2 combos?
I mean, I'm a mega Regis Kilburn fan. I think it's really cool to see him get to do more of these things. A fantastic streamer and content creator. And my only complaint with these combinations is the fact that Day 9 is not involved with either of them, because I just adore Day 9 from the bottom of my heart. But I think Peter Whalen and Regis Kilburn should be a pleasantly goofy pair. Then I honestly don't like, it may sound bad, but I honestly am not sure what Dean Ayala looks like or sounds like or is. Wait, no.
Yeah, he hasn't been the public face of a whole lot of Hearthstone stuff as far as I can tell.
Well,
Am
not
I
audio
wrong in thinking
visual.
that, Hat?
He tweets a lot. He's not the audio visual
Yeah,
face.
I know him on, I know him on Twitter, but don't think I've heard him like talk in any capacity.
He's
Has there been
piloted.
any-
He's piloted a lot of the decks in the past. He's been
Yeah.
the invisible face on the other side,
Yeah,
and he's had reveal videos years ago. I think either GVG or TGT. He might have had a video, like one video with Broad, but I don't think he's ever had solo video content. And this is probably an attempt to get him there. And Kibler is about as good of a person as any to help integrate a person, because he is super get alongable. It's very easy
to
for
use
people to
the
him.
technical term.
Yeah, well, it's everyone next to Kibler seems like a friendlier person, and Kibler can ramp up the enthusiasm and intensity, or be more technical. And Ixar was the first rank 1 legend player, which is how he got a spot in the team. He just was working at Blizzard already, and then got the number 1, and then emailed the Hearthstone team, and they were like, "Oh, you want to work for us?" And so he did. He's really good at the game.
And he's still very good. He's
Yeah.
gotten some pretty high legend ranks as of just a couple months ago.
So I think
I saw him in the single digits. So I
Yeah.
think this is actually a really good combination with Kibler, because from what I could see, I believe he was also on the on that Boomsday pre-release stream, and he looked very serious. He looked like he was taking it very seriously. So I think Kibler might be able to kind of ease him a little bit more into a very
Silly.
entertainment friendly version, so that the stream will go well when they're kind of playing the decks, because that's usually the second stream is usually when they play some decks that have a bunch of the new cards in them. So
the first stream is usually mechanics, reveals, and discussion. And we kind of covered that at BlizzCon, but they'll have a stream with Whalen and Regis, and I agree. I'm a big Regis Kilburn fan. I love his energy. I think that'll be really good, because Peter Whelan's got kind of this youthful exuberance, and Regis is kind of that. Just his laugh is so big, it fills the room. I really want to hear that as much as I can. But next time,
It's
Blizzard,
almost Broad-esque.
Blizzard, if you are listening, the next time, put a stream in between these two. You have the initial reveal excitement stream. You have the technical playthrough stream. I want the Chalky Day 9 meme stream in the middle. Give me Chalky and Day 9, and make it as memey as possible. Please.
Oh man, that would be so perfect because Chalky knows all of the card interactions and knows how to do all of the crazy combos, and Day9 just like exudes just pure entertainment from his veins. Like he's just such a good entertainer that I think that would be amazing.
My favorite piece of reveal content ever is when they showed Swamp King Dread and kept feeding it Murloc Tiny Fins in front of Day9. And he was just like, "Oh my god, you can't do that." That was my favorite piece of content. So I just want more of that, and Chalky would make so many memes.
I think my favorite piece of content was when Kibler burned the
Oh,
Warlock Death
Gul'dan.
Knight.
Yeah. Well, that was also amazing. That was pretty cacophonous. And I'm really surprised that we don't have more Frodan. I'm really surprised we don't have more Frodan.
Yeah.
But either
There's
way,
just so many people who would be fantastic for these things that
yeah,
I think they're trying to rotate it up a bit.
they need to get some EU representation as well.
Get me there.
Or like fly in Raven and Sottle together, because I assume they're always with each other.
They do live together.
Yeah.
All right. So the next news item we have here is the pre-releases are going to be back for Rastakhan's Rumble. They will be happening between November 30th and December 3rd, and now they're going to be open to more people. More innkeepers are going to be able to schedule kind of private events and new ways to join the pre-release. I know Hat unfortunately was not able to get to the last one. Were you able to? Did they have any pre-releases anywhere near you last time, Rebobson? No.
No. Most kind of fireside / pre-release stuff happens in Amsterdam, which is a couple hours away from me by train. So I kind of want to go, but I shall see because I do want to open my packs in advance.
Yeah, so I don't know. What is your opinion on the pre-release format? Because I don't believe it's changed at all. It's still going to be you can open all of your packs, but you can't use your new cards. You can only use, I believe it's classic cards and the cards you open from the packs, right? You can't combine them with like cards from the normal set, right?
I think the format is you can open your pre-order packs, so just those 50 or 17 as it were. I think you are allowed to play the new cards, but in like the kind of fireside brawl, it's you can play either pre-constructed like the deck recipes, or you can make your own decks to play against other people there. But I think the rule is you can open those 50 packs, but you can't craft cards. I remember it was.
I felt like there was something really weird last time, which made me that turned me off greatly from wanting
think
to
it was
go
you
to
could
the pre-release.
open your packs and then use deck recipes. I think it was just deck recipes, and I think you could only open the pre-order packs.
Yeah, I know you could only open pre-order packs, and you could not craft cards. So maybe that was it, that you couldn't craft anything. So I don't know. I really want the reason I would want to go to a pre-release is to start playing all the brews that I have up in my head. But if I don't even open the cards that I want to play with, then it kind of wastes a trip. So maybe if there was one a little closer to me, I think the closest one to me last time was about 2 hours away. So if there's one a little closer to me, I might make the trip out. But maybe something to think about.
But this time around, it's really easy to set up your own. So
yeah, maybe we'll I'll look into something like that
at Casa del Bot.
Oh yeah. All right. The next quick news item here is the off meta report. I was really hoping that we would that Taylor Eve and I might have gotten our Murloc Shaman to show up on here, but unfortunately we have to settle for a Stone Tusk Boar Shudderwalk Shaman, which you heard that right. The goal is to play cards like Bone Mare and Defender of Argus and Fungalmancer until you get enough +X to make the boar at least a 15/15 and give it Wind Fury and kill your opponent by playing boar and Shudderwalk in one turn. And they have to also have no taunts other
But they
than
can have one.
yeah, because you have the Black Knight. Does the Black Knight only kill opponents' taunts, or can
Yeah.
it kill? Okay, I was gonna say because then the Defender of Argus becomes a bit of a liability if it could kill your own boar. But
I'm just trying to work out what the maximum that the boar can become with just the Shadowwalk is. I think I worked out it was something like a 17/15 with Wind Fury. That's just a glorious boar.
Don't you mean
30.
Boreas?
I don't know, Mr. Hat. I do not mean that.
I got to
But thank you for
20.
asking.
I think I got to 20. Is that what you said?
Oh, I thought I worked out that the highest it could be was a 17/15 Wind Fury Taunt boar, but maybe I was wrong. There are a lot of different buffs in it. There's
Yeah.
Akra's Veteran. There's Shattered Sun Cleric in the deck.
Yeah.
Well, it
There's a
depends how
Prince
many
Kel-
times. It
There's a
depends how
Prince
many times you
Keleseth, too.
Keleseth, but you can only do that once, right? Because it doesn't actually have re-Shudderwalk mechanics.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can only Keleseth once. You can Veteran twice, so we're up to 6. You can Shattered Sun Cleric, we're up to
twice.
8.
Defender
so,
twice.
Yep, 10 attack.
That's 10. And then double Fungalmancer, double
14.
Bone Mare.
22.
Yep.
22.
That's a big boar.
Big boar
Yeah.
with
A
Wind
big
Fury.
booty boar. You can't forget the Wind Fury. It's hilarious to see Wind Speaker, Shattered Sun Cleric, Storm Chaser.
So,
in
and
all
what
of these
storms are they
decks.
chasing in this deck? Like, what do you? I guess you draw
Volcano.
Volcano. Yeah, just just making sure you Volcano on curve, so that you can follow it up with Corridor Creeper or Wind Speaker.
Yeah. It's
Maybe both.
pretty
Maybe both.
interesting.
Wind Speaker.
There's also a Odd Hunter list in here. Haven't seen a ton of Odd Hunter lately, but here it is. If that's what you're into, getting in there. And then we have Rebobson's favorite deck in here. It's a warrior deck with 2 Eternium rovers. So
I'd just like to clarify that I don't think Eternium Rover is a bad card. In this deck, it makes a lot of sense because it's like a tempo warrior. What I will say is that Eternium Rover is a shit odd warrior card. And I will talk about that in much more detail later on. But in Keleseth, Tempo Warrior, Eternium Rover is a great card. You can magnetize it, you can play Ziliax on it, you can war gear it. Then why the hell not?
I'm
But I think
looking
this deck
forward to
is-
the day, unrelated, well, tangentially related to this deck, where the 2 mana slot has more than a single card. Really looking forward to that.
I had a massive conversation today with some of the Swagway people where they were just talking about, wow, rotation's really taking out a lot of cards that we just hate.
Well, and you look at this off-meta spotlight, there are 2 total 2-mana cards on the entire page, and they are both Prince Keleseth. There is an Odd Hunter, which has no 2-mana cards, and then there are 2 Keleseth decks. The sum total
Innovation, right?
The sum total of 2-mana cards on this page is 2 Prince Keleseths. So
yeah, I guess we'll
that's
have to
Hearthstone.
see. We'll definitely have to see how many good 2-mana cards they make for Rastakhan's Rumble, because we've already seen Sharkfin Fan, which is a pretty solid 2-drop. I don't know that it's good enough. Obviously, it goes in a very specific deck, but
Even Rogue.
it's
yeah, even Pirate Rogue.
Oh boy.
I'm
Except-
calling that being a real thing when
but you
rotation
don't
happens.
captain, so you might just play pirate rogue,
Yeah.
right?
You have
'Cause then
deckhands
you
and
get
corsairs.
Deckhands, corsairs.
Corsairs are good in the
and,
mirror.
Yeah, you get there's a bunch of cool odd pirates like Greenskin.
Yep.
Ooh, green skin.
So-
There's the 3 mana combo. Something cutthroat. The 3 mana.
Cutthroat Buccaneer.
That one. Yeah. The 3 mana 2/3 combo. Your weapon gets +1 attack. It's 2/4, right? 2/3 or 2/4? 2/3.
Yeah.
2/4.
It just doesn't get played in any Hearthstone decks ever.
But
Yeah, I mean, you probably just play the. Oh wait, no, that is the other 2-drop a pirate? It's not, right? The 2/2 that increases your weapon.
Toxicologist is not a pirate.
No,
It
okay.
would be really good if it was a pirate, though.
It's already
You
good
could
in
also
Kingsbane.
just play. Yeah, you could also just play Henge Clan Thug in a rogue deck because Henge Clan Thug's pretty good in a rogue deck.
You could do that. I think you probably would do that. It's Henge
Yeah.
Clan Thug is the original fan.
Hmm?
Hench Fan Thug.
Botticus or Rebotticus. Rebobson. If you don't-
What are you doing, Hat?
I'm
confused
okay.
us already at least 3 times.
It's 1 in the morning. I'm very hungover. I've had a strange day. Do not judge me. I'm confused and in a tizzy by all this rogue talk.
Hat, if there's anybody that can't use its 1 a.m. as an excuse for not being a normal time that you're awake, it's you, for sure.
Okay, but normally at 1 in the morning, I'm not producing recorded content, so forgive my sloppiness. Because you all started talking about Henge Clan Thug and all the blood rushed away from my head. So
Can't blame you. Cannot blame you. So,
either way.
Hat, are you familiar with the Cannon Barrage OTK yet?
Walk me through this one.
Okay, so it is a wild OTK, but I think it's going to be glorious. So the combo is going to be, I think you need to have an Emperor tick on 4 combo pieces, and then the combo is going to be patches, gang up, prep, vanish, ships cannon, patches, prep, cannon barrage. That's exactly 30 now.
Wait, okay.
And
Again, one more time.
okay. Patches, gang up. Put 6 patches in your deck.
Okay.
Then you prep vanish, so your opponent's side of the board is clear, so everything's going to hit them in the face. Then you play Ship's Cannon, that wonderful, wonderful card. Play patches. You're going to play 6 patches, so 1 from hand and 5 pull from your deck. That's going to deal 12 damage.
Could be any pirate. Any 1 mana pirate.
Yeah, but because you vanish patches back to your hand,
right? You have
patches
it already.
will definitely. So that's going to do 12 damage. Then you prep cannon barrage. You have 6 patches on the board, so that is 18 further damage to your opponent's face. Exactly 30.
You've managed to make Black Howl Gunspire look easy to pull off, and I applaud you for that. And also, I'm all about this.
Yeah, it's
Also,
going to be so bad.
Also, if your opponent doesn't have anything on the board, you don't have to prep vanish. You could just use a shadow step on the patches.
And if you have
Yep, and
Valera,
then
you
you
don't
could
need
prep-
the second gang up.
Yeah. And if you don't have to use the vanish, then you can prep second cannon barrage for another 18 damage.
Oh boy.
So we're 1 mana. So we're 1 mana off of not having to have a Thaurissan tick then, right?
Potentially, but
Patches.
Thaurissan makes when you're dealing with combos in wild, Thaurissan just makes your life so much easier. And chances are you're going to play him at some point during the game anyway. But between Emperor and double prep, rogues can make some silly stuff happen.
Wow.
And you wouldn't even need to use vanish if they had just a few minions on board with relatively low health, because then you'd be guaranteed with double cannon barrage to kill their minions and kill them.
Yeah, you're basically building your own Godfrey that also kills them.
Yeah, I'm very excited to try this out.
I am excited for you to try it, and me probably not to.
First stream of the expansion. It's going to be Cannon Barrage OTKs.
I'm looking forward
I
to
was
that.
just trying to think of cool things where I could play play 2 shark fin fans, attack with my dagger, and then play Cannon Barrage. And I wonder if that was good enough. But you're taking it to an
Yeah.
all new level.
Yeah, I don't think Cannon Barrage is going to be a good kind of like just play it in a pirate-centric deck card because it costs 6 mana. That's a lot of mana.
Yeah,
for
but
a
you can play it in even rogue with shark
Yes.
fin fan and prep, and you can play spell damage cards too, like spell damage minions,
Yes.
so that it makes the
I thought
cannons
about
even
this,
more.
and I did kind of think that maybe it just depends on how many even rogue cards that could work. Could potentially not work. It's more likely, but I'll try. I'm
Oh,
all for it.
we can play wanted to get the coin, so that we have 11 mana on the turn that we're like playing the 2/5 that gives adjacent minions +1 spell damage or whatever.
Dalaran Mage? No, wait, no. Dalaran Mage is the 3 mana. What's that?
How
What's the
long
2/5
can this
called?
go on?
Uh,
How long can this go on?
All right, we've gotten a little bit too much into the weeds, so
You don't say! I come back from taking a step away from the mic, and y'all are talking about Dalaran Mage.
What's wrong with Dalaran Mage?
A lot of things. The card got nerfed multiple years ago. Hey, Bottic, is there any other news that we can talk about besides Rebobson's Cannon Barrageson?
We were having a good back and forth. Why you gotta be like that? Hat?
I
All right.
appreciate the back and forth, but I want to respect our listeners' time.
Fair enough. All right. There was an article put out about with an interview. Let's see. I should have I should have known who this was. Because I looked up this earlier. Peter Whalen and Liv Breeden.
Those were the two that did the panel at BlizzCon. They did the What's Next.
Yeah. So they did an interview on Hearthstone Reddit and had a couple interesting things to say about Rastakhan's Rumble, that it kind of started, they started working on it back in January, so this is well before BFA had come out, but after, obviously after it had been announced. It was kind of inspired by Battle for Azeroth, but they weren't like out of ideas. Like there was plenty to work with that theme going. They Some kind of interesting thing that I saw in the interview. They were talking about they really like build around mechanics, which I know we've talked about before as being somewhat dangerous. But they're bringing them down in rarity, down to rares, so that more people have the opportunity to get to play with them, whereas there are a lot of the ones we've seen lately, like the one we were just talking about in Keleseth at Legendary, means that not as much of the Hearthstone population ends up getting to play with it. So that's pretty interesting. There's a bunch of questions in here. If you are looking to go read it, we have a link in the show notes. Did you want to talk about anything else about the interview, Hat?
Not really. I found it interesting that they were considering bringing back the Reno mechanic, and that Inspire was considered a mechanic we loved. Because I'm trying to think of all those Inspire cards we were really thrilled to play. I did enjoy
Confessor Palatress.
Okay, and I enjoyed Nexus Champion Sarad. I really, really like that card. It's one of my favorite cards ever. It wasn't super competitive, but it was really fun. It was like a mini Ysera in the Control Warrior mirror back in the day when you played Shield Maidens. But when I think of Inspire, I think of Thunderbluff Valiant. I think of Mookless Champion in Arena, where it was completely bananas. And there's not really a lot else. I think the mechanic was generally considered to
What
be...
was the Murloc The Murloc was also good, right?
Murloc
was
Knight, yeah.
insane.
But it was generally considered to be a really snowballing mechanic, and the devs talked about how there were some issues with that. So I'm surprised that it's well remembered. I guess it was better than Joust, which was also in the same set, but the Cthulhu mechanic was pretty cool. The Reno Jackson mechanic I remember being interesting, but a source of frustration pretty quickly, because the effect was so swingy and you only had one in the deck by definition, along with one of everything else by definition. But I like the idea that they're willing to revisit past stuff. It's just the development philosophy so far has been, if a mechanic is good, aka Discover, just put it in the game. It's just part of the game now. Part of it might have been that Discover was so good that it became a core part of how Hearthstone functions, which is unusual. And I don't have a problem with a Highlander card here or there, but I remember the effects of Reno and Kazakus being so incredibly swingy and powerful that it didn't always feel as much fun
And
to play
Raza.
against. And Raza, well,
Eventually.
Raza was not the problem outside of the 0 mana part, but yeah. But you look at Cruelly Unshackled Master Solia, didn't see a lot of play. Because the effect has to have such a dramatic payoff for such a significant cost that, I don't know, balancing that is really, really difficult to get it just right. So I hope they can do it. I think it's interesting they bring it back. I'm just surprised that these are the mechanics that people say they liked. But at least they didn't say we're bringing back Yogg, so I'm fine.
Did you want to touch anything on this article, or do you want to talk about some new cards, Rebobson?
I want to talk about some new cards.
So a couple cards have been revealed since the last time we casted. The first one is Ticket Scalper. It is a 4-mana 5/3 common neutral pirate with Overkill. Draw 2 cards. This card, it doesn't jump out to me as an overly powerful card, but it seems fairly like Overkill. Draw 2 cards is pretty strong. I'm pretty happy if this is a card where I'm usually able to attack and trade with something and draw 2 cards from it. I'd say that's the card that I'm very happy to play, but it kind of just matters how often they're going to play a minion into this that you're going to be able to overkill, or if they're just going to remove it. I'm pretty unhappy with a vanilla 4-mana 5/3. What do you guys think? Go
Even Pirate
Rebobson.
Rogue. Even Pirate Rogue.
Oh yeah. There we
Uh,
go.
But yeah, I think this card's quite bad. Like the 4-mana 3 health offensive stat line just makes me think of Worgen Greaser.
Oh
Remember
boy.
that card?
Oh
Remember
yeah.
that card from Gadgetzan? That card was absolutely awful because it just dies to everything. And the overkill draw 2 cards does not deal with the fact that 4-mana things with 3 health just do die to everything. And chances that it will get to attack for you to get the payoff are just slim. Like maybe in a like very tempo-oriented pirate deck, you can kind of get enough of a board that it won't be contested on board the turn you play it, and then you get a chance to do it. So even Pirate Rogue, maybe, but probably not. I can't see it working too well.
I mean, don't we already have 2 other somewhat playable pirates at 4 mana? Or did one of them I can't remember if the one that gave your weapon +1/+0 rotated.
The Naga Corsair rotated
Yeah, that's
quite
gone.
a while ago, Botticus.
Yeah, that was
Gadgetzan.
Yeah. We have
Actually from the same set as the Worgen Greaser.
We have Cursed Castaway still, and that's from Witchwood, so that'll be around for a while. That's the 6-mana one. What's the
5/3.
Phantom Sail
Freebooter.
Freebooter is also still around.
Yeah. What
no,
are the
that's
stats?
from
Isn't it a 3/3 that gets bonus stats based on your weapon? I just don't remember exactly.
Yeah, that's the Phantom Freebooter. But I believe that's from Knights of the Frozen Throne. So that will rotate.
It is. We'll have that for 3 months. So pirates that will have
Yes.
post rotation. I'm curious to see what will actually be sticking around outside of the Cutthroat Buccaneer, I think was Witchwood. So we'll still have that one. That's going to be the main one that we'll be leaning on. We probably won't be able to build an even rogue that's fully pirate focused, which means we might actually have to play cards of all mana costs, which I'm a big fan of.
Aw.
And we might
Rubbish.
We have to play cards of all mana cost and multiple 2-drops. I don't know how I feel about this.
I get to play
This
Eviscerate
sounds
and Sap
difficult.
again. Eviscerate and Sap.
Oh.
Thank goodness. And no more Galaka crawlers either. Can't get
But-
punished.
But not Shiv.
No. Shiv is in spell-based miracle decks.
No Shivs. Never
So-
Shivs.
So the thing about this card as well, there are a couple things I was thinking about. First of all, Overkill can trigger multiple times. If this
Yes.
card kills something and survives somehow, like in maybe a Pirate Priest. Okay, hold on. If you Power Word Shield this guy, and then attack it and draw 2 cards and heal it back up, that could actually be relevant. I think that could be relevant. A card that just keeps hitting and drawing you more cards. Okay, hear me out.
I'm gonna let you finish. We talked about whatever cannon barrage, even rogue for however long. You go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish this thought,
Okay.
Pat. Go ahead.
The thought here is the class that is the best at making sure minions survive, if I want a specific minion to survive, is Priest. And if I'm able to do that, this minion actively rewards me for doing so in a really major way. Drawing 2 cards every time I kill a minion is a big deal. It matches up super well against Serenite Chain Gang. And I think there's opportunity to wait till turn 5, play it with a Power Word Shield, if your opponent can't kill a 5/5, and then you can heal it back up and just keep drawing cards. That seems powerful. So, Overkill as well, generally the formula for computing vanilla stats, you take the mana cost, you double it, and you add 1, and those are kind of your points to distribute, right? So when Yeti has 4 and 5 is 9. River Croclus, 2 mana, 2/3, it's 5 total stat points. Boulder Fist Ogre, 6 mana, 6/7. This is 4/4, or 8 stat points for 4 mana. You're losing half a mana. They're not costing overkill as though it's expensive to add to a card. They're making very small compromises. Now, 5/3 is not a great stat line, but they're not costing it super conservatively. They're being pretty aggressive with it. If overkill cards are good, it'll be because they're not that much of a compromise, and the payoff is worth it. In this case, it's going to be some work, because a 5/3 dies pretty easily, but if you can keep it on the board, drawing 2 cards once a turn while you're killing minions is pretty solid. I think there's something there.
Yeah, it's a very powerful effect, but considering they seem to be wanting to have these spirit cards be relevant, I'm very cautious of anything with 3 toughness because there's going to be a premium on removal that kills things with 3 toughness, especially things like Hellfire, because if people are really playing a lot of these spirits, you kind of want to be able to deal with them right away. 4 mana 5/3 is not where I really want to be for something like that.
And maybe we have reached the point where the words pirate priest were uttered. So I think that's like as good an indication as any that we're really far down the rabbit hole.
Well, let's see if this next card is looking any better. It's called Heavy Metal. It is a 6 mana rare warrior spell that says summon a random minion with cost equal to your armor up to 10. So this is... Oh man, why don't I know the name of the creature?
Gather your party.
No, the minion.
Oh,
The,
Geosculptor Yip.
Yeah, this is 2 mana less Yip without the 4/8 body.
Yeah, so
Which,
Yip is a 2 mana 4/8 according to this
yeah.
card.
Yeah, this is interesting. I heard some people talk about potentially an even recruit warrior. This could kind of go in something like that.
Oh, hot take. So, according to Jambre, who is the only even warrior player in the world as it stands, this card is bad in even warrior because it's very overcosted for what it does, and it's just significantly worse than Gather Your Party. So that is the even warrior expert opinion on this card.
Yeah, isn't the 6-drop slot already taken by quite a few cards in that deck anyway? Because there's it plays the card that when you draw it, it has a different effect, right? It's gain
Unidentified
5 armor,
shield.
then
Unidentified
yeah,
shield.
Yeah.
unidentified. Yeah, so yeah,
That-
it's interesting, but I would tend to agree with John Bray here, especially since it's a one-time effect too. It's not
yeah.
like Yip, where if Yip stays around, because a lot of times with Yip, he makes something really scary to deal with, and then you have to decide whether you deal with the scary thing or you deal with Yip, who's going to make another scary thing the next turn. So when it's only creating one threat, that's not necessarily where I'm looking to be.
Yeah, it's just a card which just like this card is essentially like it's 6 mana. So at most you're getting like a saving of 4 mana. That's best case scenario. And then ultimately you've used one card to make another card. Why not just run the big card? It doesn't seem like
I really question the use case of where would I want this over a threat that I choose and put in my deck. And
yeah.
the answer is if you need threat density, but not threat relevance. If you need just more threats and you gain a lot of armor and you want to play spells specifically for some reason, you want to dodge demonic project, or you have just a bunch of just the method in which your deck generates threats has to not care about what they are and just care about the quantity and about gaining a lot of armor and then generating just something for this to be relevant. Could happen. I'd be pretty surprised, and we won't see this seeing play while Recruit is in Standard. It will not happen.
I'd agree with that. Wait, so this is a way of Mecha playing around Demonic Project. So you just play 2 of these and then just hope that you hit Mecha.
Okay.
Sounds like a solid strategy, except for then
Everything.
you have
Everything just doesn't work.
Let's talk about this last card here. It's Belligerent Gnome. It is a neutral 2 mana 1/4 rare with taunt and has Battle Cry. If your opponent has 2 or more minions, gain +1 attack. I was not super excited about this card when I saw it. I'm kind of interested to hear what both of your takes were when you saw this card, but it did not read particularly good to me when I saw it, because if my opponent already has 2 minions, I don't know how good a 2 mana 1/4 or a 2 mana 2/4 with taunt is against that. Like it already feels behind, unless you're only playing against odd paladins. Then obviously the card's always a 2 mana 2/4 with taunt. But other than that, I'm not excited.
This was the card we were crying out for when patches came out.
Yes, that
Like,
would have been solid.
yeah. I think for where the meta is right now, it's not particularly relevant because there's not very many kind of tokeny style things, and most decks will just have something better to run instead of it. But I think this card will shine a lot more once rotation happens. Once a lot of decks lose their kind of power cards, especially something like Even Paladin, which are decks that I kind of see sticking around, which are both losing kind of like powerful 2-drops. I could kind of see this guy fitting in there. Often as more of like a hero power, play this on turn 3 type thing, because your opponent's likely to have 2 minions by that point. Then
This
it's
is
alright.
not the 2-drop that makes you not want to play Keleseth. This is the 2-drop that when you can't play Keleseth anymore, it might have a spot.
But okay,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Would you play 2 mana 2/4 taunt vanilla card right now?
Probably not.
We play Vulgar Homunculus.
There would be decks you would
We
play.
play Vulgar Homunculus. We played Wormrest
Yeah, but-
Agent, and we were very happy about it. In a metagame,
Yeah.
post-rotation...
I wouldn't know about that. And Vulgar
I don't think
Homunculus
Wormrest
also...
Agent get played right now.
Homunculus does things for your spellstones. Post-rotation in particular. If Odd Paladin is good, are you ever not playing this card? Because against Odd Paladin, this card is nutter butters.
Very true.
And even Shaman. And it's... If you're playing an even deck of your own, Hero Power in 1, Hero Power in 2, this Hero Power in 3, it's probably a 2 mana 2/4 taunt. This is Tar Creeper after we lose Tar Creeper. That's what this card is. It is probably slightly above rate for your average taunt, assuming your opponent is doing what you need them to do, the same way that Tar Creeper, bad card control, bad top deck, but you need it to survive, and it's undercosted in very specific scenarios where you need it. It's fine. It's a fine card. I expect this card to see play. Pretty significant play, because Tar Creeper's rotating out. We don't really have great early game defensive options. And if your opponent has a button that generates 2 minions, and then you punish it with this card, it's really good.
I'm just gonna say that you got to remember for the rotation argument that Odd Paladin will cease to exist after rotation because about 22 of its cards rotate.
A lot of cards rotate,
I'm not
but
exaggerating.
So I understand that in its current form, yes, but the power of the same thing happening every game and it being slightly above rate for the mana cost is still so relevant that something else will be built around that. It won't be the same.
Yeah, but
You lose Righteous
Yeah, but
Protector, you lose Lost in the Jungle, you lose Vine Cleaver, you keep Level Up, I think. No, that's Cobalt and Catacombs.
Level up rotates.
You lose Fungal Mancer.
Fungal Monster rotates. Righteous Protector rotates. Firefly rotates. Diamol rotates. Acarus Veteran rotates. Stonehill Defender rotates.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna miss out of my jungle.
We're not gonna have any cards left to play
So-
with. What is gonna happen?
So that means you'll play 2 mana, 1/4 taunt that's sometimes a 2/4 taunt.
Yeah.
I think that this card is probably in line with the power level of the current year and aligns with what Tar Creeper was trying to do last year. So I expect it to see play.
Yeah.
I'd be really surprised if we didn't see it.
I think it'll
Do
be
you think it'll
decent
see
in
play right
even
away,
decks.
or do you think it'll
No.
see play after rotation?
Its third sets have
after
historically
rotation.
had trouble mattering in fair ways. They have been very good at mattering in unfair ways. But third set cards that are 1 extra stat point if a condition is met, those are generally not the cards you see play. So, nothing in Rastakhan's Rumble so far makes me believe that we're going to have significant variance from the power level of Standard currently and the composition of it. I'm waiting to be wrong. We've only seen a handful of cards. But this is a fair set in an unfair world. Because the meta right now, you have to play one of 3 cards. Gen, Baku, or Carnivorous Cube. If you are not playing one of those 3 cards, your deck is misbuilt.
Or Keleseth.
Well, Keleseth is kind of like a value add-on option. That's like the sweet potato fries of decks.
Zoo.
Zoo.
Zoo's the exception if you don't include Keleseth as like a 4.
I would not include Zoo in tier 1 decks.
It's not.
So
it's a viable deck which
but
doesn't have those 3.
It's playable, not
Also-
viable.
Also, Druid does not fall into any of those
Right.
categories, but it's Druid. So
Or just play
The
Druid.
fourth category of Druid. Anyways, to not belabor the point too long, I do think Belligerent Gnome will see play. What else do we have for the news, Botticus? You ready for the tournament section?
We just have one quick thing. I won't spend too much time on it, but there was a little article put out if you're looking for more information about Rastakhan Rumble, the teams, and how they're set up with the Loa and the champion, and just a little bit of background, more lore knowledge than anything. We have an article linked in the show notes where you can check out a bunch of cool information about the different teams that will be featured in Rastakhan's Rumble. So I thought that was a pretty cool little read if you're looking for more information before, just something to tide you over until we have more cards to look at. And that was it. We have a tournament section. Let's see what happened.
Yay.
It's the grand tournament. Man!
I didn't actually mix that, I just did it manually this time, but I'm going to find some Rastakhan bumpers. I want to do it. Okay, so, hey, tournaments. We're kind of in a lull right now, but we did have one major tournament, the USA WESG Finals. Just Saiyan took down the finals over Astrogation in the co-ed event. He came back after a year off of Hearthstone. Gallon and Swaggy G rounded out the top 4. Justine won over Ophelia? Or Ophelie? O-P-H-E-L-I-E? Yes, Ophelie.
Ophelie.
Justine went over Ophelie, while Edelweiss and Ali Straza were there for the women's tournament, rounding out the top 4. The stream was kind of hard to find and kind of hard to follow. It was on, if you're looking for this, twitch.tv/WGN Live, which took 30 minutes of Googling and a couple of very helpful Reddit posts and questions to Wicked Good to figure out where it was. And the deck lists are not posted that I could find. So I don't have a ton of meta information for you, but this tournament was in LA, was casted by Lorinda, Falcone, believe it was Raven, and Cora. So it was fun to watch, but I wish it had gotten a little bit more notoriety. Even the VODs were impossible to find, were titled StarCraft 2 and started with Counter-Strike, and then I had to seek 3 hours in to find the Hearthstone gameplay. So I hope that WESG makes this a little bit more accessible and publishes the deck list at some point, because I couldn't find them anywhere. I had to transcribe what I could see from the VOD. So the winning lineup, Just Saiyan played Odd Paladin, Even Warlock, which got banned in the final, Shutterwalk Shaman, and Token Druid, even though the Giggling Inventor nerf happened. And Astrogation in the finals was playing Warlock Zoo. His Druid was banned, he had Shaman Paladin, but he just played Warlock Zoo 3 times and got swept. So, interesting on that. And the Druid was banned. Now, in the women's bracket, Justine won 3-1 with Big Spell Mage, a Band Warrior deck, Control Warlock, and Mind Blast Dragon Priest. If I had to guess, that's Odd Warrior, because this lineup sends...
It was Odd Warrior.
Yeah, this lineup sends a very clear message that she is playing Control and wants to beat aggro. And her opponent, Ophelie, was playing Zoo Warlock, Hunter, Even Paladin, and Rogue, so also seems very aggressive. Rebob, did you have any insight into their lineups there? It sounds like you're pretty well connected.
Yeah. I just know... I know Justine's lineup quite well, because I was helping Abel prep for her match before, which involved playing Justine's decks quite a lot.
Yeah. Oh, so you actually had access to the deck list too, because she did.
Yeah. Well, I saw Justine's deck list. I did not. Or the fourth person was Ali Straza.
Ali Straza, yeah.
Because we were just focusing on Justine's lineup in particular.
Yeah. And it is the hardest possible control lineup. It's not Even or Odd Warlock. That is just Control Warlock. It
was not a very good Control Warlock, I'd like to add.
It's
I played it a lot against Edelweiss and just kept losing, because I was like, man, this deck's really not very good.
It was definitely...
Is it Stonehill Defender?
There was some
Warlock?
weird stuff in there.
They were talking about there were a lot of singletons. There was one Rin, obviously, but one Twisting Nether. I think there was one Skulking Geist. There were a bunch of very particular silver bullet answers.
Skulking Geist? Did it have Dark
Demonic
Pact?
Project. There
No
was
Dark
Demonic
Pact.
Project in there.
Okay, so it wasn't Control Warlock with Cube. It was
Nope.
just straight.
It was Control.
Just straight Control.
Straight
This was
Void Lords and Gul'dan
and
killing
Rin.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was Rin Condition Warlock. And then Ophelie
All
played
right.
a super aggressive lineup with Zoo Warlock, probably a Secret Hunter if I had to guess. Probably something a little bit faster. Even Paladin with a good amount of face damage, and then a Rogue deck that got banned. And I did enjoy watching Ophelie versus Justine Game 2 against this Control Warlock, because Ophelie was playing the Even Paladin. She started very quickly, Hero Power into Argent Protector into Hero Power. Now she had a Swamp Ooze in her hand. Did not play it, did not play a 2-drop at all, because Skull is such a big deal. And turn 4 Glass Knight. And Justine actually elected not to trade into it. She had a Vulgar Homunculus and a Kobold Librarian, but didn't elect to bump it in Spellstone. She was on 25, and the Spellstone did 7 damage. It was better instead to tap and build the hand because she had a Hellfire in hand. But then next turn, Glass Knight and True Silver was pretty great. Trade in, put the shield back on, and go face. And then the Spellstone was used along with the trade to kill the Glass Knight, bring Justine back up. But then we're developing Gen Greymane. Rin comes down. Wind Fury Harpy comes down, representing a very large threat. Are those birds?
Yes, it is 7:30 a.m. here, so apologies for that.
That's okay. We are talking about Wind Fury Harpy.
Very fitting. They heard their kind being mentioned.
So the Gen is met by Rin. Wind Fury Harpy comes down as a big threat, needs to get siphoned, but all of these answers are pretty inefficient. And Ophelie is able to say, well, I have this 1-drop, I have this 6/2 Gen, and I have this True Silver Champion. Spike Ridge Steed, 13 You go from 25 to 12, and plays a Hydrologist, gets an auto defense matrix. Now, Hellfire deals with the board after Spellbreaker deals with the Spike Ridge Steed, but the board is empty, Justine's at 9, and the left card in Ophelie's hand is an Avenging Wrath. So when you're at 9 and your opponent has Avenging Wrath, well, what do you have to do? So Ophelie says, alright, well, I'm playing 4 minions, plays the Swamp Ooze, plays a Wild Pyromancer, plays an Amani Berserker, another 2-drop, and the hero power doesn't get used, so Defile doesn't tick. Justine top decks, Twisting Nether. Wipe the board. Ophelie top decks, True Silver Champion. You take 12. Game over. And I really enjoyed watching this whole match as well. Definitely check out Game 4. It was the Control Priest against Zoo, and there were a couple different judgment calls the players made that actually ended up not working out as well for either of them. Justine ended up taking the game in the series, but there was a moment where Ophelie had a choice between trading and going face with the Zoo deck, and the trading made sense, but the going face not doing so cost her the game by 1 life point. And
Ooh.
yeah, Justine ended the game by going from 1 to a higher life total with Alexstrasza. But it was 1 attack. Was a single attack into a minion to the face was the difference. And then Justine actually missed lethal on the turn that she locked up the game because she Alexed her own face instead of Alexing the opponent's face. But it was a stressful game. It was interesting to watch. And props to Cora. Cora called out the miss lethal on the turn that Justine won the game. So the player that won the game also missed lethal that turn. I appreciate the casting being honest about it, because that's the sort of thing you could easily gloss over. So, much respect to these players and to everyone that won. Just saying continues to be the man on fire. And this upcoming week, last week of the regular season of the TESPA Collegiate Tournament, it'll start the playoffs. And DreamHack Atlanta is this weekend, which should be a ton of fun to watch, and Last Hero Standing. So, I know there's going to be a big THL representation. There will probably be a lot of friends of the show down there as well. I think the guys from Hero Power are going to make an appearance. Is anyone from Around the Hearth going?
Not from Around the Hearth, but there's quite a few people from Swagger going, as well as innumerate friends of mine. So I'm very jealous.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be...
And cheering on everyone going.
Seems like it's going to be a really great time because, yeah, there's a ton of people in my sphere as well that are all talking about meeting up there. So I think that's going to be BlizzCon South in a lot of ways for the Hearthstone circuit.
I'm really sad that I had to cancel my trip out there. I had a ticket to go, and it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, if you can't really go BlizzCon into Vegas into Atlanta in 3 weekends, that's pretty rough. So...
You can, it would just be very irresponsible.
Yes, well, I appreciate your responsibility. And we're going to talk about Tank Up, Rank Up, Warrior with our friend Rebobson.
Yay!
All right, Rebob. So you wrote a lot of stuff. We're not going to go card by card and matchup by matchup and play by play, but I am going to ask you, I'm going to lead a little bit here, and then I'm going to listen to the wisdom from the Odd Warrior Master. Why this deck? What made you in this deck the thing that was this thing?
The thing that was the thing. So your interviewing is off to a good start, Mr. Hat. Essentially, I always gravitate towards a few different play styles. Either full-on aggro or just full-on fatigue your opponent, make them suffer type things. I really like making people run out of cards and then just give up on life. That's a play style that really appeals to me. So when Boomsday Project came out, I just kind of gave Odd Warrior a try and was like, oh man, I love this stuff. And then played, I think I'm on maybe 500 games with Odd Warrior at this point, something like that, since the Boomsday Project came out. I've played it a whole ton. And I just kind of like destroying aggro for right in its current state, because it's just a very satisfying experience.
Well,
to just
and
be like,
when Vicious Syndicate wrote that deck polarity article, I think one of the ones that was the highest at the top was Odd Warrior. Just because of the mechanism in which it operates, there are some matchups where your hero power beats their cards, and that's
yes,
pretty hard to overcome. And you look at some of the cards in the deck, I think we were all surprised but very impressed by Super Collider. Dynomatic, I think, was a little bit less surprising, but is such a devastating card to play. And the build that ended up being almost like the new Elise Control Warrior that relies on Direhorn Hatchlings and our good friend Dr. Boom, the Mad Genius, really is reminiscent of the old, almost the Shield Maiden Control Warrior builds, where you just gained armor and didn't have to play threats because you had all the answers. I'm curious
yeah,
about cards that you think could see play in the list. We've got some that are pretty much core at this point. You're playing Omega Assembly, you're playing Dynomatic, you're playing Super Collider, you're playing Zilliax because it's a Hearthstone deck, as you've said. But beyond the obvious removal tools, beyond the obvious board clears, what is less obvious and what is more optional than people might think?
yeah. Okay, so I mean the obvious ones so at least the Trailblazer and Zola the Gorgon should be in pretty much every Odd Warrior deck. But the kind of tech inclusions, there's obviously Gluttonous Ooze, either a 1 or a 2 of, because Twig of the World Tree, like, even though it is a kind of anti-burn deck, which just tank up, tank up, tank up, if your opponent just relies on damage to win a game, they just literally cannot. Like something like Mind Blast Priest has the most miserable time against this deck, because every turn they do like ping, ping, and you just tank up and it's gone. But Malagos Druid, in its current iteration with like Dream Petal Florist and the Twig and Malagos and the Faceless Manipulator, can actually do like 60 damage in a turn. So you do want to have the weapon removal. Mind Control Tech should be kind of mostly a 2 of when everyone's playing Death Rattle Hunter, because sometimes you just need to high roll your way out of awful situations and steal a cube. Stealing cubes feels fantastic. Ironbeak Owl should always be in there for the same matchup, because everyone right now plays cubes and eggs. Like you say, it's one of like the 3 ways you can play Hearthstone. Play eggs and cubes. And if you can silence those eggs and cubes, you're going to be happy. Big Game Hunter is a sort of fringe case where if you're playing against even Warlock, or again, Death Rattle, something like King Crush can be a real problem. And sometimes you just
with Lich King.
Yeah, Lich King's in many, many decks. There's Mountain Giants and Evil. There's King Crush, like I said. There's a lot of big stuff, or even like Sea Giant in even Shaman. Faceless Manipulator is just kind of, it can be extra greed if you copy one of your Direhorns. You can copy a Taunt against aggro, or against like a King Crush, or you can just copy their King Crush and kill them, something which is just the best feeling in the world. Or you can copy cubes, you can copy Void Lords, you can copy so many different things. Face Manipulator is a fantastic card to play right now. And Azalina Soul Thief. I don't really know how to describe what Azalina does. It's kind of like sometimes you steal your opponent's Death Knight, other times it allows you to spend your resources and just kind of refill your hand more efficiently. Or sometimes against decks like maybe Togwaggle Druid or Rin Control Warlock, something like that, it provides you with an actual win condition in a matchup that you should, by all rights, lose 100% of the time. So Azaleen is fantastic. Oh, and also Shield Block. I think I'm a small minority who would say that Shield Block is not a core inclusion in Odd Warrior. It's just kind of semi-important. You don't really need the cycle. The card draw in control matchups can often be actively detrimental to the deck, but it does kind of give you some nice combinations. The hero power with Reckless Flurry, with Shield Slam, so I like running it as a one-of.
See, that's interesting, because Shield Block's always been kind of a core card that's viewed as staple to Control Warrior, but I agree that in the mirror, it will lose you the game, and there have been metas before where Shield Block has been the most cuttable card. Because if you don't want the card draw, and you don't need the armor, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, the deck is pretty well stacked on the armor already, so running double Shield Block just for the armor, superfluous.
Yeah, the only matchup I think I actively like it in is the Resurrect Priest matchup, because it feels like they resurrect a bunch of stuff and Mind Blast you to take away all your armor. So being able to generate the armor to deal with the Spellstone is generally good. But I mean, I could definitely see cutting at least one of them being correct with the not nearly as many games as you, but I've played the deck quite a few for quite a bit, and definitely seems like a card that's cuttable.
Yeah, I'd say it's the most cuttable card from a lot of lists, but there are some cards which I think should not play in Odd Warrior.
Okay, so you can't be talking about our boy Festeroot Hulk, right?
Oh, of course not. Festeroot Hulk is obviously a inclusion in every Odd Warrior deck. I'm joking. I am not aboard kind of Hattul's school of thought with the Odd Warrior, where he says, well, I kind of get where he's coming from, which is the idea that you're so good in the matchups that you're good against that you can kind of just run maybe 10, 12 other cards. What I don't think is good is Festeroot Hulk. The card is absolutely awful. Don't play it. It's not even good in Arena. I tried it out in Arena and I still couldn't make it work. So
it's just waiting for Sharkfin fan.
I was gonna say, do you think you're fine with the rest of the cards in that list? Would you still think his list would be okay with the Frothing Berserkers and the slightly more aggressive curve without the Festeroot Hulk, or do you think if you're playing his version, the Festeroot Hulk should stay in?
I think Frothing Berserker is, if you want to make it kind of more tempo oriented or mid range, then Frothing Berserker is a really good card. I think it was like a really good inclusion at the point where Quest Rogue was quite as popular as it was, because it did provide you with a win condition, as Purple famously demonstrated in the global games that time. And like Darius Crowley is like bordering on being good enough to include in the deck anyway. Faceless Manipulator is a good card. A Cube was a weird one, I think, he had in the deck, but Cube is kind of an okay card in Odd Warrior, particularly in the mirror, because being able to cube your Direhorn Hatchling and kill it guaranteed to put cards in your deck and control matchups is kind of important. So I think Hattul had like a good amount of good cards. I just did not like the Festeroot Hulk at all. Also, he didn't run Omega Assembly, and that pained me. But other cards that I think you should not include would be the Quest. I think Odd Quest Warrior is terrible, and you just shouldn't do it. Whirlwind is hyper low impact, and the only time you should ever really consider playing Whirlwind, almost all of your games are against Violet Teacher Token Druid or Odd Paladin, and even then it's not fantastic. And the Messy. Eternium Rover is awful in Odd Warrior. Don't play it. I know it's an anti-aggro 1-drop, but Odd Warrior is a deck that almost always beats trying, so you don't need to run it to win those matchups. While Eternium Rover is just a completely dead card in every single other matchup. It's not really worth the card slot unless literally over 50% of your games happen to be against specifically Odd Paladin, because that's the one matchup it does help out in. Don't play Eternium Rover, guys. It's bad.
And you heard it here for the millionth time, especially if you've been in the Coin Concede Discord. But I was initially playing Odd Warrior with Eternium Rover because that was the number one list or whatever on HS Replay, and I have since cut it based on Rebobson's advice, and I do not miss it at all. Not even a little bit.
Obviously I tried it out at first. I've tried out most cards in Odd Warrior at some point to test them out, and like so often with Eternium Rover, it's just like, man, I wish this was another card. Because when you draw it in the late game, it just feels so dramatically bad. So yeah.
Yeah,
Got it.
it's
My-
I think the only defensive card that doesn't have additional value somehow in the entire deck. Because even Stonehill Defender draws you a card on top of being a Silverback Patriarch. I'm gonna miss that guy.
Like all the cheap cards in the deck, like Stonehill Defender, do kind of effectively scale into a late game situation. Eternium Rover does not. It's always a 1/3 unless you like magnetize it with something. But you can easily discover Eternium Rover's Dr. Doom's hero power anyway. So just don't run it in the deck to begin with. Easy.
Yeah. And if you're ever magnetizing something with Ziliax, of course, pro tip, you want to make sure you play the biggest minion as the base minion so that silences leave the biggest minion behind. Because if you go Omega Assembly, Eternium Rover, Beryllium Nullifier, and then they silence it, you get a 1/3 as opposed to a 3/8. So play the bigger one.
Yeah.
Um,
That is a very useful tip there.
So what are some mulligans that you're generally looking for? We're not going to go matchup by matchup, but any particular counterintuitive mulligans or any general mulligan strategies besides mulligan for tank up?
So put Baku in the deck is, I think, the most important way to play the deck.
Yes. And no
but-
2 drops, 4
so
drops, 6 drops, 8 drops, or 10 drops.
Absolutely not. Those are often detrimental to the deck.
Or
So
0 drops.
Yep. And 0 is not...
Penguin is bad.
0... Okay, first of all, you shut your mouth. Second of all, 0 is not a number, so it's not an even number, but for the purposes of this conversation, to keep this podcast from going way longer and more abstract, it will nullify the even condition. Do not talk crap about my penguin.
I mean, for the purposes of Hearthstone deck building specifically, 0 is an odd number, is an even number.
Yeah.
Because
And
that's
for
what
the
it counts-
purpose
it
of
counts as a
Hearthstone,
Hearthstone client.
Snowflipper Penguin cannot be a bad card because it increases both players' happiness when it is played, hence it must be a good card. It just does not align with the strategy because Odd Warrior is meant to deprive people of happiness, which is why you're talking
True that.
about it.
Exactly. I thrive off a lack of happiness. But
Yeah.
so against aggro, broadly speaking, you are almost always just looking hard for Reckless Flurry and Brawl, because those are the 2 cards that just single-handedly beat aggro decks. And you don't care about much else. There are some other cards you like having in each matchup on top of those, though. So just say quickly, Zoo, you want Mind Control Tech for obvious reasons, and Super Collider. Odd Rogue, you want Shield Slam for the 3-drop, Gluttonous Ooze for the weapon. Super Collider is surprisingly bad there, so you don't want to keep that.
I'm really
Odd Paladin-
surprised at that. I felt like I was having success with Super Collider and Odd Rogue. What is it? Just they play a Hench Clan Thug and nothing that trades with it, so it doesn't do its
Yeah.
job.
Like they what Odd Rogue usually does is they'll play like their one big 3-drop, and they'll have a bunch of other smaller minions surrounding it, and the Super Collider will just not kind of get the value you want from it, which is why you want the Shield Slam much more than you want the Super Collider in that matchup. Against Odd Paladin, you want MC Tech and Dynamatic. Even Paladin, you want an Owl for their Valnir or their Blessing, their Spike Ridge Steed. Shield Slam to deal with their kind of sticky 4-drop. Against Secret Hunter, you want Shield Slam, Super Collider, and if you have AoE, Gluttonous Ooze for the bow or MC Tech. And then even Sherman is the one aggro matchup you want BGH because of their early Sea Giant can be the one way that they actually win the game. MC Tech for the board, and Shield Slam to deal with any kind of problematic totem thing, which is threatening to actually do damage to you. Then some matchups like Control Priest or Malagos Druid or anything burn you. In those matchups, you just never play Dr. Boom is the most important thing. Tank up is much better than Dr. Boom's hero power, and if you keep tanking up every turn, you will just win. And you just prioritize pressing the button. That means playing a 3-drop with a coin hero power on turn 3-drop hero power on turn 5, hero power, hero power, hero power. If you do this more often than not, you'll win. And of course, keep Gluttonous Ooze against Malagos Druid for obvious reasons. Keep Shield Slam to deal with their attempted chip damage. Keep Shield Block if you have it. And against Malagos, also keep Big Game Hunter to deal with the Lich King and the Alexstrasza. And Super Collider is also just really good against Druid because Ultimate Infestation, Arcane Tyrant can just be so cleanly dealt with by Super Collider into the 5/5, kills the 4/4.
That makes sense and is also an extremely predictable Druid thing.
Yes, like the Druid is going to UI and they're not going to knock Tyrant.
Yeah, because why play a 5/5 when you could also have a 4/4?
Yeah, and often they will need to after they UI just basic. So you just get some serious, like Super Collider is just insane value in one card.
Yeah.
One set of matchups I think it's really important to talk about are the kind of egg/cube ones. So Rogue, Hunter, and Paladin are the notable ones. I'm sure someone else is going to come up with another egg deck at some point. But the way you play against these is very much the same. You hard mulligan for Owl and Dr. Boom. Play Boom as early as possible and try and limit their death rattle. Clear as much stuff as possible by playing really aggressive and using the rush capacity of on your mechs from Dr. Boom to clear their stuff and close them out of the game. Because they all lack ways of coming back onto the board once you've taken it, except kind of Paladin. The way that Dr. Boom, the rush ability it grants your mechs, gives you a huge amount of tempo is one thing that I think gets really overlooked here. You can play really aggressively onto the board once Boom's been played, which is why I think it's just so much better as a control deck than any other control deck in the game. Like Big Spell Mage or Control Warlock or any of them just can't really compete in terms of being an anti-aggro deck, but they don't have removal as well as tempo.
Yeah, my biggest question was actually what your experience has been playing against Death Rattle Hunter, because from what I understand, initially people were saying that Odd Warrior can basically never beat
I've got
Hunter unless Rexar is in the bottom.
60% win rate against Hunters.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of the gist I was getting later, is that if you know how to pilot the Odd Warrior, it feels like the Death Rattle Hunter matchup is very close, if not slightly Warrior favored.
I wouldn't go so far as to say a Warrior favored. I think a good Hunter player versus a good Warrior player is still favored, assuming that they draw like averagely well. Like Rexar is like the biggest kind of thing that I think Hunter players can have an edge by being good. A lot of people don't play Rexar super well, and playing that well in the matchup is huge for the Hunter. But against like the average to not great Hunter player, yeah, if you know how to play the matchup specifically, it's almost quite good. Because once you take the board with your kind of tempo minions with your mechs, Hunter has no comeback mechanic, so you can actually just kill them. So you don't ever beat Hunter in fatigue. You win it by just making a gigantic board and hitting them in the face. You just play aggro warrior. It's great.
It's like a late game aggro warrior, right? After your boom is played, you just kind of can take over the board, and they're constantly trying to catch up. But it's hard because you have the tempo advantage because you can rush your mechs out and you're generating extra ones.
And the rush matters so much. I really didn't expect that part of Dr. Boom to be as relevant as it is. But rush just means Dinomatic just kills everything every time you play it. It's an amazing card.
Dinomatic kills a Lich King.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah, the rush is, I think, like the most important boom. Oftentimes, the hero powers are somewhat irrelevant. The armor one is usually the one you want the most. The Discover a Mech is also pretty good, but then the other two are bad.
Yeah,
The deal 1 damage to is just
deal 1 to
awful.
everything is just kind of a miss, and deal 3 is fine, but
the mechs have their uses, particularly when it comes to magnetizing or
Deal
playing it into
3 is
brawl.
relevant because it goes face.
Yeah.
And dealing 3 to their face can be relevant when you're trying to
Yeah.
kill them. But
Yeah, the summon 3 1/1s is actually, I think, it's best in the Hunter matchup because Hunter just can't deal with 1/1, which is hilarious. Like you just putting anything on the board in the Hunter matchup is the way to win the game, even if it's just little 1/1s. Although the 1/1s do go great with Brawl.
yeah,
Summon
it's
3 1/1s, Brawl, kill their stuff.
they're definitely relevant
Fantastic.
cards, and Rexar players will often just lean into beast tapping every turn, and instead of just playing the relevant threats and keeping the pressure on, because you can go 1 for 1 with minions even if they have a handful of minions if they fatigue. If they're putting pressure on you every turn, that's where you really start to run into the issues because they put pressure on your removal, eventually you run out, and then they kill you. But if they're just generating infinite value, 2 can play at that game. At a certain point, your armor total becomes something they can't really punch through.
Yeah, that's the reason why being really aggressive onto the board is so important. Because if like you want to force the Hunter player to, they want to push the button but look for something defensive like bloat bat, something like that, or scale hides, things that will clear your minions. Because if they're doing that, they're not developing threats because they can only do one or the other. A Hunter cannot be defensive and aggressive at the same time. The way Hunter wins is by just every turn making a gigantic stealth or charge or rush minion and just threatening to hit you in the face. Once you take that away from them, they kind of just really struggle to get back into the game because they have to use all of their turn just to react to your stuff. And you're much better at putting stuff on the board reacting to theirs.
man, that's really interesting. I never really pieced that together in my head as to why I would sometimes lose the Hunter matchup as Hunter, like you lose the Odd Warrior matchup as Hunter because I realized I was getting a bunch of lifesteal minions saying that I'm going to win in fatigue, when in reality you just need to be making big minions that are hard to deal with and threatening them every turn to hit them, and that just makes so much more sense.
I've played that matchup quite a lot. Yeah,
I
that's
believe
kind
you.
of how it goes.
Yeah. And we're gonna wind down this section here as the show draws to a close. But are there any last tidbits, any last pieces of advice you give people, any other matchups you think are particularly important to know? Just some closing words.
Yeah, I guess the mirror's quite an important one to know. Like the mirror is kind of the most game plan dependent matchup in probably Hearthstone right now. Like it's just pure technical knowledge. Like you need to know exactly what to do, what cards to use on what, and when to play which thing. And like it's just game plan knowledge. So, but it does play out in a very similar manner to other control decks. Big Spell Mage. So what you want to do is you want to use you want to use Zola on Elise to put 2 packs into your deck. You want to use Faceless Manipulator on your Direhorns to put as many Direhorn Matriarchs into your deck. Because the most important thing is just putting cards into your deck to avoid fatigue. You want to use Owls to prevent cards from going into your opponent's deck. So that's Owl on Direhorn specifically in the mirror. You don't want to use Owl on any other minion in their deck besides Direhorn Hatchling. You want to use Stonehill Defender to find more Direhorn. Everything is just put cards into your deck, stop cards from being put into your opponent's deck, and crucially, don't use shield block ever. Don't draw cards. And in the control matchups, like specifically against Mage, you do need to be ultra greedy with your AoE. They have infinite water elements, and you kind of just struggle to kill all their stuff. Big Spell Mage is, I think, the single worst matchup for Odd Warrior except Questroke.
Yeah.
You do not want to play that matchup very much.
Big
Like
Spell
even
Mage.
Shadowwalk,
Ugh.
like Shadowwalk is actually a better matchup for Spell Mage, I think, and that's saying something.
My limited experience with it, just Big Spell Mage kind of, their deck operates in all the ways that you're bad at dealing with. Their removal is more efficient than yours against the threats that you are playing. Your threats don't matter enough to them, and their threats are perpetual and powerful in a way that you can't effectively deal with. It's a really, really strong matchup for them.
Yeah, just to put in context how bad the matchup is, I once played against a mage who had both Skulking Geist and Frostlich Jaina in the bottom 5 cards, and I still only just about won. Like, that's the kind of luck of the draw you need in that matchup, and still you will struggle. Geist is a really powerful against in particular. If an early Geist is the one thing that just beats Odd Warrior for the most part, because it cuts cards from your deck, so you're closer to fatigue, and it removes not just your premium removal in Shield Slam, but also a lot of your value in Omega Assembly. So if you want to beat Odd Warrior, just play a deck with Skulking Geist, play Shudderwock, play a Big Spell Mage. Even Warlock can be something of a tough time for the Odd Warrior.
Yeah, well, you need the Shudderwock so it can Geist twice, right? It removes your 1-drops this game and the next game.
Oh, yeah.
I actually like the Mind Blast Priest matchup against Odd Warrior. I feel pretty good in that matchup because you have a lot of time to set up specific res targets, and your
you mean Cloning Gallery?
Yeah, I like that.
Mind Blast Priest. Oh yeah, no, that matchup is actually quite good for the Priest.
Oh yeah, no, the Dragon Mind Blast Priest that tries to kill you with Anduin, that one, I have to imagine that matchup's like impossible for the Priest.
It's winnable only against a bad warrior player who doesn't know that you're not a doctor. That's basically the only way you can win. If they know to tank up every turn, you will not win that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cloning Gallery Priest is a quite bad matchup for the warrior. Because like you might think that, oh, you just tank up out of range, but the amount of damage output that deck is capable of is just ridiculous. And you don't run any transform effect unless you want to like go crazy and tech in Tint Wafts to Overspark, which is legitimately a thing if you really want to go down that hole.
Yeah, if you want to tech for the Cloning Gallery Priest matchup.
Yeah,
also Taunt Druid.
Even then, you're still resing 4 targets, so it's still pretty likely you're going to get one high value target from your spellstone.
Yeah, but I mean the one that you really need to hit is like what you need to happen was if you were running Tinkmaster Overspark would be they draw it, so they have to play it out as a single minion, and then you play Tinkmaster and then potentially win, and then they have a sheep in the pool or something like that. Besides that, you need to tank up a lot and get to something like 70, 80 health. And even then, it's kind of risky.
Yeah. But
makes sense.
Anyway,
like you say,
this was really good. This was a lot of good information, I think, for me as a person who plays Odd Warrior on occasion. So really appreciate all of the insights you had. I think I think our listeners can make a lot of use out of this info too.
Yeah, thank you for being the subject matter expert and continuing to shark our listener leagues.
I did do it with Odd Warrior as well.
Yeah. Odd Warrior, Even Paladin, Shudderwock Shaman. What was the 4th deck? Hunter? Or Druid?
It was Token Druid, I think.
Token Druid. Oh, yeah, the pre-nerf, I think. Or no, there was post-nerf in the top 4.
And yeah, no, it was post-nerf in the top 4. I was playing Token Druid, but I just cut Giggling Inventors from it. I ran Scenarios instead.
Yeah, and the deck is still fine, even though it was the worst case scenarios for that deck.
How
long can this go on?
Too long if you ask my co-host about how many puns I can make, but we have big thanks to give to Stefan for letting us use his cover. Check him out his channel, link in our show notes. Big thanks to Wicked Good for deck analysis, Hearthstone for deck lists, Liquipedia for tournament info, and Hearthstone tournaments on YouTube for tournament VODs. Show notes for this week's episode are on our website, coinconcede.com. You can support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.tv/coinconcedepodcast. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede. If you'd like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. New shop at Dad Legend. We've got one design right now. We're working on more. And big thanks to our producers, Viriatus, Tacos, and Donald. Botticus, you get to be our first Coin Concede. Let's go.
So I would like to coin concede firstly to my mom, who was the impetus for going out to Vegas this last weekend and doing the half marathon. Without her, we probably would not have trained and gone out and had that experience. And biggest coin concede is actually to my wife, Kimmy Cake. I have done some long distance type events like this before, but this was her first time ever doing anything like this. And I'm super proud of how she did over the course of the event. It was just really, really great to see her kind of get into it. And I think she had a good time. She's still a little sore from it, but yeah, it was just really good that she went through with it and finished, and couldn't be more proud.
Yay.
And also Rebobson for coming on, because I love that guy.
Of course. Rebobson, how about you? Do you have any coin concedes you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so quite concede to my as of yet unannounced teammates on Swaggo. I've been doing a lot of practice with them recently. They are a fantastic group of people, and pretty much everyone on Swaggo has been a pleasure so far. Really glad to have joined the team. I've also coin concede to my other practice group who are all going to be at DreamHack Atlanta this weekend. So coin concede to Clark, Hellscream, Iron Fire, and Try. We've done some good stuff recently, and I'm going to be rooting for them. How about you, Hat?
So I would like to coin concede. Well, there are a bunch of people that are not listening to the show or connected to it, but this is a position that I've kind of been keeping my eye on at work for a few years now, and a year and a half ago I had applied for it, and I remember telling you guys, but I had a flight to Kansas that got canceled because I was interviewing for it, and then the position got put on hold. Well, it came off hold, and I got it, and the people at work really went out of their way to connect and make sure that I was aware of it at the corporate level, and there's been a lot of good people that have helped my career kind of progress to where it is. And after 11 years of working Saturday nights and Christmases and picking up trash with my hands, it's going to be very, very different. So, kind of still processing, and I'm thinking about what an enormous change it's going to be. But there are a lot of people that helped me to get to where I am, so I'm just really grateful for them today. Big thanks to Botaheel. Even when my pugs get druids that stand in every volcano, he's always there for me, suppressing my pain. That is Botticus's Discipline Priest, by the way. I am running Bone Hat, a Blood DK. We make an excellent combo, but this week we're not doing any Mythic Plus because Teaming Explosive Fortified.
Not yet. Well, just wait till after the show. I'm gonna drag you through something.
Oh, good. That sounds fun.
Hey.
Big coin concede to Forrest Bates for linking me an article about a giant cheese event that happens every year called the Big Cheese. That says this would be the target of a Ridiculous Hat heist movie. He knows me better than most people know me, I would say. A Christmas cheddar slicing ceremony. I might buy plane tickets. And coin concede to Appa. Sorry you couldn't be here today. He's going through some stuff, but we expect to see him next week and hope everything is all right. And we will keep him in our coin concedes, as always. And that's going to be our show. Rebobson, if people were looking for you, where could they find you?
So you can find me on Twitter mostly. It's twitter.com/ at Rebobson. Same spelling as it is everywhere. Or you can find me every Monday on Around the Hearth at 8 p.m. Eastern. I always seem to do things on American time, but I hate myself. But that's on twitch.tv/Around the Hearth. Follow us on Twitter at Around the Hearth, or find us on facebook.com/Around the Hearth. That's where you can find me, as well as just a multitude of other random cannot list because they happen sporadically and often at very short notice. So just follow my Twitter for all of those. That's what you should do.
Yes, and in most Discords you can say You can say Eternium Rover, and Rebobson will show up and tell you why you're wrong.
Or Barnes.
Yeah. Well, no. This is a family-friendly show. You can go on tier 5.
Delete Barnes.
Botticus, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter. I'm at BotticusHS.
And you can find Appa on Twitter at Appa_HS. You can find me on Twitter at RidiculousHat or on Discord, wherever Hearthstone's discussed, at RidiculousHat. And for now, that's going to be our show. So keep calm, tank up, rank up, and if you see us on the ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Take cold comfort in your victory. You win. I can rest now. You win. For now. Now, your victory proves nothing.
The day is yours.
I choose death. You have triumphed. This time, this hunt is yours.